Good morning, children. Today, class for 10th subject is biological science. In previous classes, we discussed up to how the gaseous exchange takes place at lungs level and how the blood carries different type of gases. Now we are discussing about the gaseous exchange at tissue level. Okay, the fourth step of respiration is gaseous exchange at tissue level. Okay, gaseous exchange at tissue level. You know that blood transport the oxygen and nutrient to each and every cell. In the transportation of oxygen and nutrients, the blood plays very important role, and we know that the blood will appear in red in color due to the presence of hemoglobin. So this hemoglobin pigment only plays important role in the transportation of oxygen to each and every cells in our body. Normally, when the blood will enter into that alveolus part of the lungs, at the time the hemoglobin will combine with the oxygen and forming the oxyhemoglobin. Okay, when the blood flows to the alveolus part of the lungs, at this time the hemoglobin combined with the oxygen and forms the oxyhemoglobin. Means nothing but hemoglobin is nothing but Hb. Oxygen, you normally we represent the oxygen as O2. So at the time Hb plus O2 become as HbO2. Next, this oxyhemoglobin supplies oxygen to each and every cells in our body. Next, in the cells, carbon dioxide is generated as waste material. So again, after supplying of oxygen into the cells, the hemoglobin of blood combines with the carbon dioxide and forming the carboxyhemoglobin. What? Carboxyhemoglobin. Again, this carboxyhemoglobin transports the carbon dioxide to the lungs. During the exhalation process, we exhale the carbon dioxide gas into the atmosphere. So, this is the gaseous exchange at a tissue level. What? Gaseous exchange at a tissue level. Next one is fifth step of respiration is cellular respiration. What? Cellular respiration. So the first step of respiration is breathing. Next step, gaseous exchange at lungs level. The third one is gas transport by the blood. Fourth one is gaseous exchange at tissue level. The fifth final step is nothing but cellular respiration. What? Cellular respiration. Cellular respiration means nothing but it is one of the pathway. It is one of the pathway means nothing but cycle process. Cellular respiration is a pathway in which the cell release the energy. Cells release the energy by the breaking of chemical bonds which are present in between the food molecules. By the breaking of chemical bonds which are present in between the food molecules. Okay, cellular respiration is a pathway in which the cells release energy by the breaking down of chemical bonds which are present in between the food molecule. Okay, cellular respiration is a pathway in which the cells release the energy by the breaking down of the chemical bonds which are present in between the food molecules. So normally the cellular respiration process occurs in prokaryotic organisms as well as eukaryotic organisms. So prokaryotic organism is nothing but undeveloped organism, means not means very unicellular organisms and that don't have any nucleus. If the nucleus is present, the nucleus is not surrounded by the nuclear membrane. So eukaryotic organisms are nothing but the cell which have developed nucleus. So this you know that the cellular respiration process occur both in prokaryotes as well as eukaryotes. Normally in prokaryotes such as bacteria, cellular respiration process occurs in a cytoplasm. Why? Because nothing but well developed cell organelles are absent in the prokaryotic organism. That's why the cellular respiration process occurs in the cytoplasm only. Okay, in prokaryotic organism the cellular respiration process takes place in the cytoplasm, but whereas in eukaryotics it takes place in mitochondria. What? In mitochondria. Already you know about that one, mitochondria. So the cylindrical shaped cell organelles which we can observe both in the plant cell as well as animal cell. Okay, so the cellular respiration process occurs in the eukaryotes in the mitochondria. Next, the cellular respiration process can occur in the presence of oxygen or sometimes occur in the absence of oxygen also. In the absence of oxygen also. If the cellular respiration process occurs in the absence of oxygen, it is called as anaerobic respiration process. But anaerobic respiration process. If the cellular respiration process occurs in the absence of oxygen, then it is called as anaerobic respiration process. Normally, this anaerobic respiration process takes place in prokaryotic organisms only. Means respiration process occur in the absence of oxygen. Okay, prokaryotic organisms such as bacteria and primitive fungi such as yeast. Okay, we observe this anaerobic respiration process. Anaerobic respiration process. Okay, if the cellular respiration process occur in the absence of oxygen, then it is called as anaerobic respiration process. Mainly this anaerobic respiration process occurs in the primitive organisms such as bacteria and yeast. What? Bacteria and yeast. If the cellular respiration process occurs in the presence of oxygen, then it is called as aerobic respiration process. Aerobic respiration process. If the cellular respiration process occurs in the presence of oxygen, it is called as aerobic respiration process. What? Aerobic respiration process. Normally, the aerobic respiration process takes place in developed organisms such as plants and animals. Next, in living organisms. The energy that is produced by the mitochondria are stored in a special compound called as ATP. What? ATP. ATP full form is adenosine triphosphate. Okay, what is the full form of ATP? Adenosine triphosphate. Next, normally the energy is produced from the food molecules in mitochondria. So, that's why the mitochondria are called as the powerhouses of the cell. What? The powerhouses of the cell. Okay, the energy is released from the food molecules in the mitochondria. So, that's why the mitochondria are called as the powerhouses of the cell. What? The powerhouses of the cell. But the energy from the food materials in the mitochondria is not released at a time. Okay, the energy from the food molecules in the mitochondria is not released at a time only, but the energy releasing process in mitochondria occurs in several reactions by step. Means at a time not all of energy is released from the food molecule. Step by step the energy is released in the mitochondria. So the energy that is released from the mitochondria stored in a special compound, that is ATP. So the ATP is called as the energy currency of the cell. What? The energy currency of the cell. Normally we want to purchase anything at the time we need money. Yes or not? When we have money, we have to use in different purpose. Same, the energy that is manufactured in mitochondria that are stored in ATP. When we need energy to perform various type of works in our daily life, okay, that energy is come from the ATP. What? ATP. Normally, one ATP molecule gives 7,200 calories of energy. Okay. Normally, the one ATP molecule gives how many calories of energy? One ATP molecule gives near about 7,200 calories of energy. 7,200 calories of energy. Already you know that one, the respiration is classified into two types. One is anaerobic respiration. Another one is aerobic respiration. Anaerobic respiration means nothing but the respiration process or the cellular respiration process that occurs in the absence of oxygen. Aerobic respiration process is nothing but the cellular respiration process that occurs in the presence of oxygen. So, normally anaerobic respiration process takes place in bacteria and yeast, but the end products which are formed in the bacteria are lactic acid and energy. What? Lactic acid and energy. After the completion of anaerobic respiration in bacteria, as the end product lactic acid and energy is released. Okay, in bacteria the end product of the anaerobic respiration are lactic acid and energy. Next, in yeast also the respiration process occur in the absence of oxygen. So the respiration process that occurs in the absence of oxygen also called as fermentation process. What? Fermentation process. Why we called this anaerobic respiration process as fermentation process means nothing but during the anaerobic respiration process of yeast, as the end product ethanol means nothing but alcohol and carbon dioxide as well as energy is liberated. So that's why the anaerobic respiration process also called as a fermentation process. What? That's why the anaerobic respiration process also called as anaerobic respiration process. Okay, in yeast the respiration process occurs in the absence of oxygen. So this process is also called as fermentation because the end product of the anaerobic respiration of yeast are ethanol, means nothing but one type of alcohol, carbon dioxide and energy. So, when compared to the aerobic respiration, during anaerobic respiration process, very less amount of energy is liberated. Why? Because nothing but this respiration process carried out in the absence of oxygen. Without oxygen, the living organisms cannot liberate huge energy. Okay, this is about that anaerobic respiration process. Next one is aerobic respiration process. So what is aerobic respiration process? Aerobic respiration process nothing but the respiration process that occurs in the presence of oxygen is called as aerobic respiration process. Normally we observe this aerobic respiration process in the higher organisms such as plants and animals. The end products of the aerobic respiration process are normally carbon dioxide, water and energy. What? Carbon dioxide, water and energy. So normally when you exhale, so during the winter season observe, okay, when you exhale the air from your mouth, you observe that one you can see that some water vapor also. So the end product of the aerobic respiration are water, carbon dioxide and high amount of energy. So this is about that one respiration process. Next one, normally in our daily life we can perform so many activities. Yes or not? Means nothing but playing. It is also one of the activity. Running, walking, etc. So to perform all these type of activities, we need energy. So when you continuously running, after some time we feel tired. Yes or not? Or when you perform continuous exercise, at the time We feel that our legs are paining and our hands also paining. What is the reason? You know that one for the releasing of energy from the cells we need oxygen. So we are continuously performing one of the activities. At the time the cells cannot produce more energy according to our needs. At that time lactic acid is accumulated in our body muscle. Why? Because nothing but to generate the energy from our cells we need excess oxygen. But how much oxygen is available in the cell? According to that, the energy is released. Still we are continuously performing work at the time. At the time we observe that one the lactic acid is continuously secreting by the cells, and this lactic acid is accumulated in our muscles. It leads to the pain or strain. So that's why we feel pain when you perform vigorous activities, means continuous work. Okay children, carefully watch this video and complete your regular work, and daily you should thoroughly read the lesson. Okay, thank you children. Carefully watch this lesson video. These topics are very very important. Suppose you have doubt, immediately WhatsApp me on my personal number. Thank you children.